It's mid-July and in today's video I'm going to give you my July tour of the kitchen garden. Okay, let's get right into it, and starting with the tomatoes here. So there's my tomatoes in the grow houses, all recovered from that really hard prune I had to give them. And they've been harvesting now for a few weeks and I'm getting lots of tomatoes off them. The hard prune paid off, and if you want to see more about what's been going on with the tomatoes, I've just posted part 5 of my beginners tomato growing series. So that's up and the focus is on harvesting, so it gives you a bit of a closer look. And then next to these, we've got this lovely mulberry bush. This is a dwarf mulberry bush. I don't know if I've shown you it before. We have got fruit on it this year, and they're absolutely delicious. I was told that you could shake the branches, and that's how you can harvest mulberries easily. But I've shook them and none fall, and they're now drying up on there, so I'm going to actually have to make more effort and pick them. And then next to the mulberry bush we've got my chilli plants. I had these in the garden room. It's like a conservatory with a roof, but they were getting lots of flies on them and not very happy, so I ended up actually pruning them back so they're almost like little standard chilli trees, and that's worked really well. I've already got a load of chilies now in the freezer, and this is ready for another harvest now. Now take a look at this squash patch. If you remember from my June garden tour, the squash was just kind of growing in the raised bed, and that's a crown prince squash that you're seeing mainly at the front there, and then I've got an Uchiki Kuri growing up the fence. I'll go over to that in a minute and show you. They're both growing like mad. They're very healthy, and let me just show you what's hiding in this squash patch. So these are really big now. I'll just put my hand there for scale. I haven't got particularly dainty hands. Massive crown prince this year. And then the Uchiki Kuri, you can just see that orange plant sitting in the trellis, and then we've got another over here, already really bright orange. Now I've only got 2 fruit on this at the moment, which is a bit disappointing, but that might be because when I was pruning I chopped off one of the main stalks, so I'm still hoping I might get a couple more by the end of the season. But anyway, that's my fault. I'm always a clumsy clot with that kind of pruning. And then next to it here, just a quick glimpse at the tomatoes, because there's plenty of other videos with those on. These outdoor tomatoes have done really well, and I'm now into preserving season. So I've already got a video on how to make marinara sauce and pizza sauce, so have a look at those if you've also got a glut coming. And I'm going to do some different videos as I start harvesting all of these beauties. Okay, so let's go down to the 3 main raised beds now. So let's start with this squash bed or curcubit bed. And down the end here on one of the trellises we've got our white serpent squash. That's harvesting just like zucchini, courgettes. These white serpent squash are very similar, a little bit drier, so I find them nicer to cook with or make cakes with. And we've already had lots and lots of crops. And then in the main bed itself I've got another crown prince squash, because I had a spare seedling, and just as I was called away in emergency I kind of flung it into the ground just so that the bed would be used for something. And we have indeed got more winter squash coming here. Not quite as big as the other one, they went in a bit later and it was a weaker plant, but I've got 2 good sized ones already, and another one looks like it's coming. So I built a trellis for my cucumber since the June garden tour, and here it is now with the cucumbers climbing up it. So you can go and see the video if you want to see how I did it. We've had about 5 little cucumbers now. I'm growing Wautoma cucumber, and then 2 of these are cornichon. So I want to try making those gorgeous little gherkin pickles, and you can see we've got some very small ones there. You actually pick them really small, but a little bit bigger than this. Very good. Cucumbers looking good, and hopefully we'll get a crop before the wind blows them down. Now let's take a look at the Espalier apple tree. First year fruiting. I can't remember what it was like last time, but now we've got some sizable fruit. It's done its drop, it's sort of natural drop of the apples, and we've got quite a crop growing on. And this was a 2-year-old plant when I bought it. It was already half trained as Espalier, and then we're continuing it. I've always wanted one of these, and it looks absolutely beautiful. So now let's have a look at this raised bed. And last month this was full of shallots and an absolute tangle and mess of all kinds of things. But since then I've harvested all of the shallots, and they're drying in the garage. We've got loads, so I'm really delighted with that crop. And I've harvested the carrots, I've taken out the rocket which had gone to seed, and we've now got a bit more of an orderly bed. So let's show you what we got. We have got my next batch of lettuce just getting underway here at the end. That's my sheep's wool mulch. It's very dry here at the moment, so I'm just trying to keep as much moisture in the soil as possible. And then now I've got in a row of golden ball turnips, which I've not grown before. So I grew these from seed, and then I just put them in the ground last week. They're getting a bit of what looks like flea beetle damage. If you can see those little holes in the leaves. Hopefully they'll come through all right. And then the spring onions, bunching onions that I've got in here are all growing really beautifully, and I'm just picking them as we go, as I need them. I just take out one of the strong ones and leave the rest in if I don't disturb them too much. Another joy of no dig. It's quite easy to just kind of twist one off and leave the others in, so they're very fresh. And then in between some of the onions here, I've just planted a few beetroot. So I've multi-sown them and grown them initially in little modules, and then I've planted them out quite small actually, but they seem to be doing okay, need a bit of water. The soil is so dry at the moment. And those will grow in the little bunches and be ready to pick in the autumn hopefully. So this end of the bed looks like more bunching onions, but these are actually leeks. So I've grown some leeks from seed. Not all of them germinated or survived, but I've got a few of them there. And again, they're multi-sown. I'm growing them in little bunches just like last year. And then in between them here, these aren't weeds, I've just done a little catch crop of radishes. Leeks are very slow growing, so I thought I'll just put in a few radish and get those harvested while the leeks are really small. So look at that, a lovely orderly bed for once. Now let's go to the final bed. So this end of the bed is now clear. I cleared all of my broad beans, and I got some of those frozen, and they've been a good crop this year. And I also had some peas in here, and they've been not a great crop. I don't have much luck with peas. So the sugar snap peas and the petit pois, we had some delicious crops, but not enough to freeze, not enough really for what I would like for the space and water they take. So we're now into bean season. And if you remember from last time, these little beans were sown as seeds direct into the soil while I was away actually by Mr. Grown Frugal, and they are already up and cropping, and they're delicious. So on this side we've got the dwarf beans Aquilon. They're a really long bean, and they're really lovely taste and good for freezing too. So we've got those cropping away already. And then these are a new bean to me. It's another dwarf bean. Here they are. They're a beautiful purple colour. You do lose this purple colour when you cook them, but they look lovely, don't they? And then finally the lettuce that I was a little bit worried had gone to seed in the last video. One of them has, but the other two are actually still going. So we're still harvesting away from this red Grenoble and this winter density cost lettuce, which is a great combination. And that's the kitchen garden in July. So my next video will be my Foodie Tuesday video coming up, and then next Friday will be the next Grow Friday. So do subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next time.